Okay guys, next video in my Piano Lessons Gone Nuts series. We did two already today. Here's the third one. Someone asked me, or saying pretty much what they were saying is that they were getting burnout practicing. That they had been practicing 80 hours in 1 month, which amounts to 4 hours per day in a work week, and they'd only been playing for a month. And they said they were practicing and they were frustrated because they couldn't remember anything from the next day or from the previous day. They would get to the piano the next day and not be able to retain what they learned the previous day, and were just getting frustrated with themselves. Totally self-taught. And I wanted to address that for some of you. A lot of people don't practice enough, but occasionally there's people who practice too much. All right? You remember when you were in school and you had a test and you were studying for a test and you were cramming for the test the night before, and you studied and studied and you kind of memorized, but then you got to a point where you just couldn't remember anything. You couldn't force any more information in your brain. That's because I think our brain has a shut-off point where it will allow so much information in and then it just shuts down and it's not going to do any more. Kind of like my son, one of my sons. Okay, let me tell you something. You're not going to be able to force yourself to learn the piano. You may be one of those people who can get on a task. You're going to do something, you have a project for the day and you're going to stay on it and you work 12, 14 hours that day to finish that project. That's one thing. But you cannot learn something doing that, having that same kind of attitude. You cannot force information in your brain and have it stick and become a part of you, having that kind of a work ethic, okay? So this person, let me suggest to you, we need to cut that practice down. You're practicing too much. 4 hours is too much for a beginner piano player. Cut it down to at least just an hour, maybe less than that a day, and give yourself some rest. Okay, your brain is tired. You're trying to force this musical learning on it, and it's just you're going to get burnout and you're going to quit. I've seen it many times. Here's the best way to think of it: practice like a healthy eater. Now, how does a healthy eater eat? They eat food that their body can handle, and they eat it in small amounts, consistently and regularly throughout the day. Not too much food, just a little bit, and they do it consistently. They don't go a long time between meals. And that's how you need to practice. An unhealthy eater eats a whole lot of food that their body can't handle in a short amount of time and eats maybe once or twice a day, and that's the way to eat bad. And that's how I think you're practicing, person who asked me this question. And it's not going to work. You're going to burn out and quit, okay? You have to absorb this, and to absorb something takes time. So you got to slow down. You got to quit expecting so much of yourself, and you got to get away and rest and do some other things to get your mind off piano and music. Take a couple of days off and then come back to it. So here's the key here. Well, whatever you're learning, and it's not just piano, it's not just learning a musical instrument. When you're trying to input information into your brain and learn a technique, a task, whatever it is, you have to do it in small portions. You can't take on the whole thing at once, okay? Small portions at regular intervals. That means if you're going to practice an hour a day, do 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon, then maybe 20 minutes at night. If you can do that. I know that's hard for you to do, but that's the best way to do it. Intervals. Rest in between practice. Now, if you don't ever practice, then you don't have this problem. If you have another problem. But you need rest. Your brain needs to rest from the task you're asking it to do. All right? You need time away. Take Saturday and Sunday off. Don't practice every single day. Okay, so those are the keys there. Now, here's how we learn anything. In my opinion, as a teacher, a long-time teacher of 23 years, and learning many things myself, this is how we learn. Correct repetition of a manageable amount of information for a reasonable amount of time. Okay, a lot of big words there, but let's look at them. Correct repetition. Shaquille O'Neal practiced. He's a basketball player. Great basketball player. Practiced free throws. Hours. Had experts come and help him. But I heard an expert basketball coach say he was practicing a flawed technique. You have to have correct repetition. And by the way, he didn't really get better at free throws right away. But it's not helpful for us to practice incorrect repetition. You've got to be correct on your repetition. That means don't go so fast that you miss the notes. or that you don't play it correctly, or that you're just trying to tally off how many repetitions you do. Correct repetition of a manageable amount of information. Don't try the whole song at once. Don't try a whole page if you can't handle that. You have to decide what you can handle without freaking out and stressing out. Maybe 2 measures, maybe 4 measures, maybe 1 measure, maybe half a measure. Pick out what you can handle. That's the manageable amount of information that you want to get. When you're studying for a test, you take a few questions, and then a few questions later after that. Add on to it. For a reasonable amount of time. My friend, 4 hours a day for a beginner piano player is too much. I'm telling you, you're not used to it. You're going to burn out. You're going to get sick of it and never come back to it again. Reasonable amount of time for you, a beginner. Don't go more than an hour a day. Maybe less, maybe 40 minutes or something like that. But you need to cut that down, and you need to give yourself time to absorb it and to learn it. There is no such, the learning graph when you learn does not go like this at a 45-degree angle. That's 45, isn't it? 45-degree angle. It does not go like this. It goes like this for a long time, maybe, and then all of a sudden, whoop, you're at a higher level. Something happened. I've been practicing. Oh, now all of a sudden I'm way better than I used to be. That's how it works. I don't know why it works that way, but that's how it works. And you have to give yourself time for that bump to occur. Okay, reasonable amount of time. Cut it down. Break the time up throughout the day. That's how you're going to learn it. Small chunks, small pieces, okay? So this is a long explanatory video, but I'm telling you that's how you need to learn. Those are the people that learn to play. In my time of teaching, those are the ones that learn to play, not the people that are most talented. Very rarely was it the ones that are most talented. Very rarely was it the ones that were so gung-ho and excited when they first started their lessons and practiced hours a day. It's the ones who stick with it for a long period of time. Maybe they don't practice a whole lot, but they're consistent with their practice. Okay, remember that kid's book you read, The Tortoise and the Hare, slow and steady wins the race. I remember that song, slow and steady wins the race. So true here. Slow and steady. Don't be the rabbit who runs out in front and tries to gather it up and learn everything all at one time. You will burn out and you will not last, I promise you. Okay, so that's my video on beating the practice blues and burnout. Hope you guys enjoy it.